Hey guys, I'm Jody with Board Game Perspective. So today we're taking a look at Cosmic Colonies, published by Floodgate Games, and this says it's an orbit drafting game of building a home in the stars. So this is a 1 to 5 player game and plays roughly 30 to 45 minutes. So this game is all about card drafting and polyominoes, so you are going to be getting these buildings and putting them onto your asteroid board, and you're trying to cover up different spots so you can get more points. So there's a lot of puzzliness to this game. So let's see how this game is played. Alright, so let's go over the setup of this game. So there is a basic or advanced setup. We're going to show you the basic setup here. So you're going to have the main board here, and you're going to put one of each of these corresponding tiles on these locations here, and you'll have the excess and a supply off to the side. Now there are some 1x1 and 2x1 tiles that will just be in the supply and not on the board. Then you'll place the score marker on 1. You'll have a supply of resources, and then on the matching locations, you're going to put one resource for every player. So I got this set up for a 3-player game, so I've got 3 of each resource. And then you're going to have this score chart here, and then if you're playing with 2 players, you're actually going to flip this over and place this in the middle. Each player is also going to grab an asteroid board, and we're going to have it on this side here that shows the basic side. The other side would be the advanced side. And then each player is going to take one of each resource and put it right here in their little warehouse. And it's important to note you can only have a max of 9. And then you're going to select the worker cards that you will be using during the game. Now there are several different types of cards, so let's go over them real quick. So you got these private objective cards, which every player is going to receive one of these. So this player already has theirs here. And then you've got basic setup cards, which are going to be these green folders that have like this 1 cog symbol there. That's the basic cards. Then you have the advanced cards, which are the tan folder. And then you also have cards for solo mode, which show a little person on a purple folder. So we won't be using those, we'll just be using the basic setup cards. So you're going to be dealing out some of these basic cards depending on how many players you're playing with. So we got an example that we're using 3 players, so you're going to have 12 cards total, and then you're going to give each player 4 cards shown here. Now if you were playing with 4 players, you're going to use 16 cards, and 5 players 20 cards, and you're going to remove the unused worker cards from the game. So a general overview of the game, there are going to be 8 rounds, and each round is going to be broken into 2 phases. You're going to have the action phase and the refresh phase. So to start the action phase, each player is going to take their worker cards, and they're going to secretly pick one that they want to use, and they'll place it face down. Once everybody has placed their card face down, then everybody will flip it over, and you'll take out the actions depending on the priority number. So these basic worker cards have a few things on them. So like I just mentioned, this is the priority number. So basically the turn order in which people take actions. This is going to be the carry limit, so how many resources you can get, and then the card's special ability. So there are 2 options for worker actions. You can collect resources or place a building, and these cards sometimes have special abilities that can possibly enhance those actions. So if you want to collect resources, you're going to select one of these resource locations, and you're going to take the corresponding resource according to your carry limit on the card you have chosen. So for example, the card that we had played has a carry limit of 4, so if I could take 4 resources from one location. However, I only have 3 at this point, so I would just take So say I chose that one, so I would just take all 3 of these and put them on my player board. And as a reminder, you can only have up to 9 resources on your player board. And also as a reminder, you can only select resources from one location. You can't pick and choose from multiple. So also make sure to look at your special abilities. So this one that we played corresponds to the collect action. And this says you may hold more than 9 resources in your warehouse. After your next action, discard down to 9 resources. So it allows me to break the rules for a little bit. So the other action you can take is placing a building. So what you can do is if there is a building out here, then you could potentially buy it. So the costs to buy these buildings are on this side. So for instance, this one right here, I would need to pay 2 blue resources and 1 yellow. So let's say I wanted to do that. So for my turn, so I would take 2 of my blue resources from my board, 1 yellow, turn them into the supply here, take this tile and place it immediately on my board. Now the first tile that you ever place on your board, you can place anywhere. So let's just say I want to place that there. Now all the costs are pretty self-explanatory. This one's a little different. This one you had to have 2 different kinds of resources that you're going to pay, but one of them has to be 2 of the same, and then the third one has to be different. So a few tile placement rules, like I just mentioned, the first tile you place can be placed anywhere, but after that you have to have at least 1 adjacent side touching. So I could, for instance, put that there. You have to build off of the first one. You cannot do diagonal. That is not considered adjacent. So it would have to be touching one end. So I could do that. And of course, you got to stay within the boundaries. You can't have your tile going off of the edge here. And also, you can rotate and flip your tiles to kind of orient them differently. And lastly, once you've placed a tile, it cannot be moved in the future. And then after everyone has performed their actions based off the priority numbers, this gets moved over. And you're going to repeat all of those steps again, one more time. So everyone's going to pick a card that they want, place face down. Once everyone's done that, then you flip it over, and then everyone takes another second action based off of the priority number. And then once everyone has taken 2 actions during that action phase, then you're going to move on to the refresh phase. So the first thing you're going to do in the refresh phase is add resources. So you're going to leave the remaining resources out here, and then you're going to add resources according to your player count. So we're playing a 3-player game here. So I'm going to add 3 resources to each location. So 3 there, 3 here, 3 more here, and lastly 3 more here. Now, another important thing to note is in a 2 and 3 player game, there is a max amount of resources you can have at these locations. So in a 2 or 3 player game, the max you can have is 5. So you actually want to make sure you only have 5 of each resource at each location. Then the second thing you're going to do is fill any empty building slots. So we have an empty spot here. So we're going to fill that, and there's only 1 building tile out here per location. Next, you're going to move the round marker up 1 spot. The next, you are going to orbit your worker cards, and how you do this depends on your player count. So to 3 to 5 players, what you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 cards here and pass them to the player to your left. And at the same time, you will be receiving 2 new cards from the player to your right, and you will add those to your 4 cards, which you will be selecting. If you have 2 players and you need to orbit the worker cards, then what you're going to do is you're going to take the cards on the right that are on this board, the 2-player board, add them to your hand, and then you'll take your 2 used cards and add them to the left. So after you orbit your worker cards, then you're going to continue to gameplay if you have more rounds. If you're on the last round, then you're going to proceed to scoring. So let's go over scoring. So first what you're going to do is you're going to look and see different terrain types and what's visible. So you're going to be scoring points based off of terrain spaces that are visible. So for example, let's do this first type here, this purplish terrain type. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those visible. So we look at the chart here, we go to 4. So we have 4 visible, so we would get 3 points. The next one, let me see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visible. So all the way to here to 5 would get us 0 points. And then you would do the same thing for the next 2. And then if you have one of each building type, which we do in this case, you would get 15 points. And then you would score your private objective card. So this person had this one here. So every building type of this that I had built out there, I would get 2 points. So I've got 1, 2, 3 of those, so I get 6 points for that. And then I get 1 point for every of those square building types, and I only have 1, so I would get 1 point. So everyone will tally up their points like that, and whoever has the most points is the winner. And lastly, I wanted to point out in the back of the rulebook, there is rules for the advanced setup, and there's additional variants here. And on the back page, there's also solo mode rules. Alrighty, so that is Cosmic Colonies. So go ahead and leave a comment down below if you have any questions about this game or any thoughts in general. And as always, if you want to help us out, go ahead and click that subscribe button and like this video. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.